Welcome to the short introduction of basics of lists in Python. First of all, we are going to cover what are lists. Then we are going to cover how do we create a list in Python. Then we are going to access the list, elements in the list, and we are going to see how to slice a set of list from the given list, and at last we are going to see how lists are mutable. So the first question, why are lists? Why do we need lists? What are the advantages they provide our using variables? So here's a little definition of list. List can be defined as a number of connected items or names written or printed out consecutively. As you can see in the given diagram, we have a list, shopping list, including milk, apples, eggs, bananas, and breads. But this is sure not in Python. In Python, a list means a collection of objects, and these objects may or may not be of the same type. So why do we create the lists? Let's look into the past. We were working fine with variables. Then why did we introduce the list actually? So imagine yourself as a teacher who is controlling a class of students having 50 to 60 students, and it's hard to control every one children by its name or by calling them and giving them the instructions. So what a teacher must do is to place all the children in a line or in a set, so that they can call any student, access any student via a number or a roll call. So that's preferable actually. So what are the advantages of using this methodology? It provides us flexibility, better control over the things, can store different data types, and collective data sets. These are the things that lists provides over the variables. And at last the teacher is happy. So now we will see how do we create a list in Python. So now we are here in Code Sculptor to execute some commands and create some lists. So first of all, we create an empty list. So the syntax for a list is we define a name to a list. For example, we write lst and equals to. Now lst refers to the name that where the list of the data elements are stored, and after lst we type square brackets, and in the square brackets we can give different data types that we want the list to store. So first of all, we create an empty list. So it's empty list. Okay, let's run it. It ran successfully, so let's print it. So it gives a empty list. Now let's create another list, lst2. Okay, so 2, and enter some random elements like 1, 5, and 7, 9, 36, 25. So now this is a list of different characters, but all the characters here are numbers actually. So this is a homogeneous list having all the elements as numbers. It's 1, 5, 7, all these are numbers actually. So this is a list named list2, and now we print this, print lst2. so let's see. So it gives us a fine new list of elements. Okay, so good. Now let's create another list. This is a list of some numbers. Now let's see if a list can store some strings in it as well. So we create some lst3, okay, is equal to mangoes are green. So this doesn't make any sense, but just for reference. Okay, so here we created a list lst3 and its elements all are strings. So let's print it. Let's see what happens. lst3, print that out. So yes, it gives out us the different elements that we entered. We entered three strings here: mangoes, R, and green. So here's the LST. So now we have seen how to create lists in Python. We have created lists of numbers and strings. Now a genuine question is, can we create lists of a list? So as we said, nothing is impossible in Python. Yes, it is possible, and we are going to show how it's done. So here we are creating a new list, lst5, and it has two elements in it, lst2 and lst3. So this new list, lst5, will be a collection of two lists, lst2 and lst3. So the length of this string would be 2. It has only two elements, but these two elements are not a single value or a single string. These are actually a list. So list 2 has 6 elements and list 3 has 3 elements respectively. So let's try it out in Code Sculptor. Okay, let us make our lst5 is equal to, and it contains the above mentioned list, so lst2 and lst3. So let's run it, print it, lst5. So here you can see the lst5 list has two elements, only two elements. This is the first element and this is the second element. Now the first element is another list having 6 elements in it, and in the second element also is a list having 3 elements in it. So we can create a list of lists in Python as well.
Now let's discuss how to access the elements of a list. We created a list lst2 and it has 6 elements in it. So starting from 1, then 5, then 7, then 9, 36, 25. So here are the elements arranged in a tabular form and their indexes. So you can see clearly that the indexing of numbers of a list starts from 0 actually. It's not starts from 1. It starts from 0. So to access the first element of the list, we have to write something like this. lst2 0. So it will give us 1. Then lst2 1. It will give us 5. So you can see that in that how indexing works. It starts from 0 and goes up till the length of the list minus 1. For example, we have 6 elements in this, and the indexing starts from 0 and goes up to 5. That is 6 minus 1. So this is how indexing of the elements in a list works.
So here is the list 2. So now we want to suppose the third element in the list. So we will write lst2, that's the name of the list, and in square brackets we are going to provide the index of the element that we are going to access. So we write 2 here and we run print, and here's 7. So for list actually it starts indexing from 0. So print of lst to 0 would give us the first element of the list, that's 1 actually, and we can also access the last element very easily if we don't know the length of the list as well. So it would be like print lst2 and minus 1. It will give us the last element of the list, that's 25 in this case. It's good. So you see that in a list we can access the elements, but the indexing is from 0, not from 1. We have to keep that in mind. So that's all. So now we are here now to slice the list. We have seen the list, how to create list, and then we have seen how to access the different elements of the list. But in some cases we may want to extract a list out of a list. For example, in this case, for example, I want to extract only from 5 to 36, let's say, or from 5 to 9, only 3 numbers from starting from the first element. So it's for this we have a technique in Python known as slicing. In slicing, we give the list the initial index, then a semicolon, then a colon, and then the final index and square brackets close. For example, if we take lst2 square brackets 1 colon 4, in this case, the list will start from the first element, that's 1. It's the index. That's the second element actually, having the index 1, and it will iterate over the list until it reaches final index minus 1, that is 4 minus 1 equals to 3. So it will give me the result output as the index element as 1, 2 and 3, excluding the 4. So here is how we slice the string. Now at last, lists have a very unique property that lists are mutable. Unlike any strings or variables like numbers and something like that, lists are mutable. And what does this mutable word means? Literally, this means that the elements of a list can be changed or altered, and hence these are not reliable. Should we think that? Well, it's right, but it has its own pros and cons actually. So let's discuss it in detail. Advantages: it may prove efficiency. For example, in a program, if you want to edit some elements of a list or want to update a list, for example, you are working, so you want that so you want something to edit in your database, then it's good, then this thing works in your favor. But disadvantages: if we by accident edit any element of a list, for example fourth element, fifth element of a list, then um, it could lead to some errors in future. It would give us wrong results. So these are disadvantages. It has its own advantages and disadvantages as well. So how do we get rid of this? For example, we have a list 2 with 6 elements in it. So now we create a new list, and which is equal to list 2, but this new list is actually another copy of the list and is not pointing to the same list as lst2. So this new list would have its own elements as 6 elements as 1, 5, 7, 9, 36 and 25. So now if we do something in this new list, it would not be reflected in lst2 because a new list is not pointing to it. It's actually a new list having all the elements of lst2 in it. So here is how we can create a new list having all the elements, and then we can change this new list, and the change is not reflected in lst2. So thanks for watching. Comments any issues. Thank you.